Welcome to Series 2 of Building Great Microservices with Spring Boot. In our Series 2, we get to move things a little bit better and faster. We will be introducing an abstraction layer to what we previously built. Instead of the repository relying directly on the service, which the service directly relies on the controller for the functionality, we introduce a small interface where these functions will be implemented in the service layer. This makes things easier in case in the future your services grows big or your microservices grows big. In this main series of the Spring Boot, we get to upgrade that and we get to introduce the custom functions that the JPA repository doesn't have. If you need to get students by grades or maybe a local implementation of yours, you will need to create that in the repository. Again, create that in the interface and implementation of the service and call it in the controller. So let's get started. Yeah, so this is where we were in our first series. So I'm just going to close everything here. And we will be introducing in the implementation layer. So what we're trying to do here is to introduce the implementation bit, just to ensure we have abstraction of hiding how and just exposing what. So this will be very resourceful when the application grows, and you won't need to change the controller if the service is changing. So you only need to change the layer or the implementation layer only. You don't need to go changing the controller because the service changed. Yes, so we're going to create another package. Okay, so we will just run it later. So I'm going to create a new package. So new package, actually we will create it under the service. So new package, you can call it IMPL, just to stand in for implementation. Then we're going to have it's a class actually, so it's going to be student service implementation class. Then this one of ours here will now will change to actually an interface. So what we're going to do here is let me see. So we're going to move everything here. So just 1 second. So I'm just going to remove everything here, and then for now I'm going to temporarily place them over here, and then I'm going to delete this class. Command delete. I don't want to save such, just want to delete directly. So I'm going to create a new interface here. So I'm just going to call it student service. It's going to be an interface. Then the implementation, we're going to move it. Okay, this packaging structure, let me just go here. Appearance, flatten modules, compact. I don't want compact packages. So I'm going to move the student service here to the service and then refactor that. So if you look at our new layer now, we have the model, which of course we had already defined it. And we said the model will be used in the service and everywhere we need to call the model. So from the model, we have the repository. So the repository takes in the student as our model here and long as the primary key. So if you are new here, so you can go check out the first series of the Spring Boot. I clearly explained this. And then from the service, we were depending on the repository. And from the controller, we were depending on the service to get all these methods. So first things first will be to define these methods that are already in the implementation to this that are already in the service to this implementation. From the implementation to the service. So if you look at it closely, we have student service. We have save student, save all students, get student by ID. Then we have get all students, delete students, and then we have that, and then we have that. So we're going to start off with, just allow me to split this, split to the right. Then we're going to open this, then we're going to close the folders here. So, sorry, not this one. We want the student service class. So is it this one here? So we want to create all these methods here, and then we will create an implementation for this one. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say, okay, this is an interface, so we don't need to go and define and tell Spring Boot, hey, this is an interface. No, it only happens here in the class here where we need to tell Spring Boot that this is your service class. Yeah, and then what we're going to do is we're going to say the first one will be save student. So this method here, save student. So it's already our completed here for me. So we have this method where we having the student. Our function will take in student, and we will need to implement this student in this class here. And then we are going under here. So we want to inject the repository layer. So so this one is student repository. So we're going to say here student service implementation. Then we're going to say student repository, the student repository, this repository text, that repository. So the next thing will be so we are done with save student. So we need to call this method now inside our controller. But first, let's clean up all these methods here. So the next one will be save all students, which is a list. So I'm going to say a list of students. I think let me just turn off auto completion. Student. So I'm going to import this. So you're gonna say a list of students. Then you're gonna say this one is get all students. So just get all students. We'll take in actually get all student will not take in anything. So this one is okay. And then we have delete student. So for delete student, we want to return a string so that we can display that to the user. So string. So we're gonna say return type is string. Then we're gonna say delete student, which will take in a long of ID of type long. Yeah. Then the next one will be delete all students. So this one you can also return a string. So delete all students. Delete all students takes nothing. And then we have one called update student. So we're gonna say we're gonna return a student type. Then we're gonna say update student. This one will now take in our ID, student ID, and this exact student that we need to update. Then we're gonna close that. So what else is remaining? Delete all, get all students, get student by ID, get student by ID. We have get student by ID, which will return student. So after I can put it here, I'm gonna say student type, then get student. This one will take in an ID, so we can format it there. And then this one is save all students. Service, we just saving one student. So this one will return a student type. Sorry, a list. Yeah, it will return a list of students. So we're gonna say a list of students. Save all students, which will take in a list of students. Then we're gonna call them students. Gonna close it there. So we are done updating this. Just one more time, so you can check. We have save student here, save all students. As you can see, we are only defining on this one how this function will be called. Just tell them this method will take a student and will return a student. This method will take a list of students and will return a list of students, and it will take a list of students. We are only telling them this is the how, but the what of how things are happening, that will be handled by the student, by the student implementation layer. So I think we are done here. So we can actually close this now. Then now focus on the student implementation. So if you come back here, so remember this student service, we need to implement all these methods in the student service implementation. So we're just going to say here, implement student service. Okay, and then I think we forgot here to add this add service, just to tell Spring Boot this is our service class. So if you see now, all these methods, so if you click on them, they now go back to the controller, but the methods are here defined here. So you call from the service layer, service implementation layer. So we go back to our service implementation and we start fixing what is not happening. So we can start off with the save student. So we're saying here, student, save student, everything remains as the same. So let's find where these others are having the errors. So we have here public list of students, get all students. So let's see where is the issue here. Compatible return type. So let's see where this one, get all students returns a list of students. Sorry, it should be student, not strings. So that when you come back here, now the error is gone. Yeah, and yeah, that is it. So we can run our application. So as you can see, it was just that simple. Let's run our application and hopefully nothing breaks. Yeah, nothing is breaking. So we can now go and test our application. So if we go back now to our postman, is a post. So we want to post a new student. So we can call them James Bond scored double A plus. Then we're gonna send this. So you can see now we have James Bond. So we can add another entry, James Bond scored an AB plus, and send that. So if you go now to our database and refresh, where is this? Refresh our table here, our student table. Refresh. You can see now we have A plus grade, AB plus of James Bond and James Bond. So the other thing we could do was to from our REST API here was the on controller we could save. Then we could get by ID. So we can try get our James Bond. So our identifier is 25. So if you go now to get by ID and do 25, we expect that we have James Bond here. So we can as well, from our controller, we can as well update or delete all. We can also get all. So we can try get all. So where is get all? So you can say students dot get all. Yeah, you can see we have all this list of students here. So everything is working as expected. So again, just remember that we introduced only this abstraction layer so that we don't have to go changing things in the controller if we need to add or responses are changing within the service class. So if you click your student by ID, you're going to find it it's being used on the implementation. This one here, get student by ID. If you click here on the go to all students, it still gets sent you back to the controller layer. So yeah, that is it. We could also maybe you see with the repository, with the JPA repository, it doesn't have other custom functions like maybe getting students by grade or something. So that's something we could modify, we could create. So if you want to create your local methods, which is not in the JPA repository, which includes all this listing, deleting, batch, everything, get one, references, find all, you can actually create yours within this repository. For example, if we need to get students with a mean grade of A or B plus, so we can, because you might be expecting a list, we could say a list of student, which I will say get student by grade. This will take in string, we can say, of type grade. Yes, and we are done like that. Now we can go back to our student service layer and create this method. So we can just put it here. So we can say we are expecting a list of student. Then we can say get students by by grade. This one will take in a string of type. We can just call it grade. And then we now go, you see already we have a problem here. So if we go to one related problem, it says it is missing the implementation part of it. So if you click on implement the method, click OK, it's directly generating this here. So we're going to say, instead of returning a list of, we're going to return from our repository here, which we can now access this our own custom method from the repository. So we go back to here. So we're going to say return student repository dot get student by grade, and then we pass in our grade. Then we can close it there. Now we go back to our controller class and create this method. So this is a get method. So we can just put it next to any get here. We have, yeah, just here. We can place it here before saving all. So this is a get mapping. And yeah, we'll come back to that later. So it's a public list of student. Just let's say fetch students by grade. So remember, naming in Java is always camel case. So what we're going to do here is we're going to return the student service dot get student by grade and pass in this string here. I'm going to say grade and pass in the grade here. So given this, so what we're going to do here is we're going to say slash grade. And then we want to make this as a unique identifier. And remember, with controllers, to make something unique within a certain path. So instead of request body, we will be using the path variable. So we're just going to say path variable. Have this one as grade, and then I'm going to pass here grade. So remember again, naming here for any path variable should be the exact naming here. So if you run our application, then we go now to our database, we see we can fetch people with S, so we can get Masinjeri, Branotieno, yes, and Amina Yusuf. So if you go and say get by ID, and then you're going to say grade, and then let's say A. You see, we now have only students with grade A. So if you need students with grade B, again, it doesn't care about the casing here. So you see, we now have students with this. Yes, that is it for now. Make sure you practice everything with learning. So I'm going to push this in case you need reference to it. But remember, on the repo, you need to go to check out the initial setup, and then you can build it on your own now. So our next topic will be reactive Spring Boot. So make sure you are familiar with the normal Spring Boot. So with reactive Spring Boot, I think we will just explain it later, but it's a little bit more advanced, and it's more of production used Spring Boot framework is if it's reactive. We deal with a lot of streams of data, and we need to manage this data as they come in and make sure that there's nothing lagging within the system. So get ready for next episode where we get to dive into reactive Spring Boot. So remember, a good architecture will make sure that your services are scaling as it grows or as it drives more data or more traffic. With this, you get a better starting point with Spring Boot of building better microservices with clean architecture. So once we're done here, we will be moving to reactive Spring Boot. So what are you waiting for?